All right. We're good?
We are good.
All right. Well, good evening. Dean Larry Corchin, live here Monday, January 11th, 2021. So we're so glad you're here. Again, if you're joining us for the first time, welcome. You are a coach or close to being a coach candidate, and we're so glad you're here. This is our opportunity to share best practices and help each other out as far as our coaching businesses. And again, just glad you're all here. So tonight, in absence of an inspirational piece, we have a new inspiration, and that is our Crushing It Challenge.
Yeah, so we are excited, you guys. Over 70 of us from just our team committed to the Coaches Crushing It Challenge. And you guys are rocking it, been loving the feedback that you're giving. And so every week we're going to post a Google Doc like we did. And we want you to submit your results. And so if you had them in by 3 o'clock today, you would go in a drawing. And we're going to do a drawing every week. We're going to do a grand prize at the end. And the drawing will be for something different every time. And it might be for points, it might be just because you submitted your results and whatever, but we've got a really, really cool prize at the end. So you want to have been entering as much as you can. And even if you missed it, the 3 o'clock cutoff, you can go ahead and still fill out that Google Doc, get your results reported. And my favorite thing, you guys, when I was looking at it was what are you most excited about comments. So many people were excited about structure, being back in the books. So if you would drop in the chat what you've been most excited about, whatever you submitted on your survey, just so everybody else can see, because it's pretty cool to see how we're coming together with this. So today is just a random drawing of everybody that submitted their week 1 results. We're just happy that you did that. The winner is going to get $25 Amazon card. You could use it for personal development books, new water bottle, something health related, or if you prefer that $25 as wellness credit on your Optavia account, we'll do that for you. So you want to draw it?
All right. And the winner is, which one is this for?
The drawing.
For the drawing.
Yeah.
Angie Ivy.
All right. Congratulations, Angie. I'm not sure if you were on yet, but I know she's been rocking it with the challenge. So that is great. I'll reach out to you directly for that. We also wanted to congratulate everyone who received a Dash bonus. A lot of people on our team did. That incentive ended yesterday, but congratulations for your efforts. And remember, it got you talking to a lot of people, and they may or may not have been ready right now, but they are now as your, fence sitters and your follow-up. So remember to stay in touch with them because, what you did was just increase connections, and increasing connections is what leads to more people that we can help. And then the last thing, just wanted to go over a couple of announcements before we get into our great training topic for tonight. This Wednesday night, I am actually hosting the Habits of Health call, the Optavia Habits of Health call. So I'm actually going to depart a few minutes early from this one because you'll see me on Dr. A's call right after this doing the announcement of the call. But the great thing is that it's a great topic for you, for your clients, and it's secrets to achieving your New Year's resolutions. So your clients, candidates, it's going to be a great topic. And some of your team members are going to be on with us. It's going to be Lori Cole will be on with me during the Habits of Health call. And then during the Transformation Stories to Share will be Gina and Steve Manley will be sharing their story. And also Jesse Pilkington from Meg Johnson's team will be sharing as well. So we're super excited about that. And then the last thing is just Dan Bell's been rocking his Accelerate Your Business training. So weeks 1 and 2, you can catch those replays in our news feed of Coaches Opt for Change. Week 3 would be this coming Saturday.
Well, super. All right. Well, let's get started tonight. Well, I'm excited because, again, this topic, as far as the beginning of the year, everything kind of flows and coincides with a lot of the training we've been having. But this thing was one of those things Dee and I were like, what are we going to cover today? And so, we always look at the 4 quadrants, right? Coach acquisition, coach support, client acquisition, client support. And so when you look at it, one of the things, at least we know this as a team, we struggle with trying to connect in a way that awakens individuals. I don't know, do you guys have the same challenge as far as awakening individuals? If you do, just maybe hit the chat with a 1. Let me know that I'm on the right topic there. There we go. Right. So how do you awaken individuals, and how do you make that connection? I mean, really, that's what it's about, making a connection. And we're all different. We're all unique from that perspective. But the question is it our responsibility to awaken you each day? Almost like your parents did, right? They told you that you had to do your homework, right? Do we have to tell you to do your homework every day? We're adults and we're supposed to have all of this figured out, aren't we, from that perspective? So again, it gets us into this mindset of what are we supposed to do? Inspiration. Okay, maybe yes, as coaches, we try to inspire, but we all come from different frame of references and a different frame of mind. So that makes it really tough for us to kind of pinpoint, how do I move or how do I encourage somebody? So again, how do you hit the inspiration button for each individual that you're working with, coaches or clients? How do we say the right thing, not just to coaches, but to clients, to move them, but not offend them? Okay, that's one of the things. We're always like, well, this client's not doing their job. How do I say the right thing to really inspire them to move without offending them? Because then they won't answer my phone call the next time. They'll ghost me, right? How does that happen? And the coach, if I want to push a coach for their benefit, of course, but will that push them away, and will they blow off their next meeting with me as far as mentorship meeting? How does that work? So again, are they living up to their full potential? Have you been there? Okay. Are you tired of my questions at this point? I'm asking a lot of questions. Is this getting, I'm sorry, we got somebody's line up in there.
You're good. I got it.
Okay, you got it. Let's think about questions as far as the bedrock of our foundation of what we do. Do you believe good questions and listening intently will improve your skills to awaken, okay, clients and coaches to be at their best? Tonight, we'd like to explore some more thoughts on this. All right, so let's jump into this. Dee and I are strong believers. I think many of you guys know that. We go to church, and this isn't a faith question, but our pastor is an amazing orator and storyteller, and he can take relevant topics for anything. So he's in the middle of a series right now that he began the new year with. And what he's trying to do is really have us ask better questions to make better decisions. And when we heard it this weekend, we were like, that's exactly what we need, because it's really what he's talking about is exactly what everybody needs. And so he said something very powerful that's hard for us to wrestle with. But I think we can agree upon this statement, and I'd love to see your chat if you can agree or disagree. But the easiest person to deceive is the person in the mirror. Think about it. You guys agree? Can I see the chat? You won for yes, amen, okay. All right, so if we think about that for a second, right? We can deceive ourselves. Our clients deceive themselves. Coaches deceive themselves. Everybody can deceive themselves. So that relationship, that poor habit, that decision you make, it doesn't matter who you are, but we fool ourselves. So let's jump ahead. And so he presented what he called the integrity question. Now, we've heard this in Optavia in several ways too. But you'll never get, and this sounds like a Dan Bell, but it was by my pastor this weekend. You'll never get to where you need to be or want to be unless you're honest with yourself in the mirror. Okay? So if you're deceiving yourself, you're never going to get to where you want to be. Right? If you're deceiving yourself, you're going to get stuck and you're not going to be able to move your goals forward. So I really like that. And again, as we kind of think about that and we look at it, you're like, okay, Larry, you're telling me nothing new here. How do I help my clients and coaches? So a couple of questions I want you to think about as we go into this next section, and I'm going to have Lauren and Meg share a little bit about what they do for their clients and coaches. But regarding you first, do you experience self-doubt on your skills? Okay. Your ability to move people towards their goals, do you doubt that? Are you constantly investing in your personal growth, and are you representing Optavia on your personal health journey? Are your motives for the business transactional or transformational? And do you make things all about you or others? Now, some of you, I think, if we're honest with ourselves and we're not deceiving ourselves, there might be one or two things in there that there are opportunity areas to work on, okay? And then regarding your business, right? That was regarding you, but now regarding your business, do you challenge in the right way your clients and coaches, frankly, to look in the mirror by asking great questions? All right, because that's really what this comes down to. I've been asking a lot of questions tonight of you and sharing that, but it comes down to asking great questions. So the one thing I want to leave you with before we jump into my friend Lauren and Meg is the one thing the pastor stuck out is that it's never easy to look in the mirror and you will feel bad, but it is the path to change. Okay, so what does that sound like? The obstacle is the way, right? So again, that was very, I think for most people, we can think that's very freeing because of the fact that, again, we see that, again, we have a challenge, but recognizing the challenge is the hardest part about it. That's half the battle. And then seeking guidance and wisdom to move forward. So I really enjoyed that. So I hope you do too, and I hope that has an impact on your business. And again, we, practically, again, Lauren and Meg are going to share in a sec. So this week's homework, I want to share with you, if you choose to do it, is to look into your mirror. Okay, be introspective, and if you're starting to feel bad, again, that's a good thing. Okay, we don't want you to be miserable, but you know what I'm saying. If you're feeling that nudge that I might not be, I might be deceiving myself from that perspective, you're chipping through the wall. And so that's a good thing. And that's considered growth, personal growth. And you'll be okay. So now to help me move forward as far as how she chips away at her clients in helping them open up and maybe awaken and not deceive themselves. We've got Lauren on the line. She is going to share with us tonight how she helps her clients break through and again, see that with questions. So Lauren.
Awesome. Hey, everybody. It's been a little while since I've talked on here, so I'm excited for this tonight. And I feel like this is a topic that I'm really passionate about. And honestly, that I feel like I've grown in a lot. I feel like in the beginning of coaching, I was definitely more of a hero coach and always wanted to give the answers instead of maybe asking more questions. And it's been really cool to see the shift of learning to ask good questions and learning to just listen. And learning to sometimes lead them to the answer that I'm hoping that they'll get to, but with them giving themselves the answer instead of me giving them the answers. I don't know if anybody can relate to that on here, but I feel like it's just learning that balance from really empowering them, empowering them to come to those answers, empowering them to kind of awaken themselves and instead of, giving the answers. And I've never forget those of you guys who were on our cruise 2 years ago. Terry Miller did a talk on client support. And I feel like it just simplified it so much for me. And I've always held on to this. And she said, there's 3 things that we always want to ask. You always want to ask. And she really talked about, because I feel like before that time, I was asking a lot of, well, how much did you lose this week? A lot of those questions and just focusing so much on the scale. And she said, we don't, she was like, honestly, I don't even ask usually how much weight they lost. What I'll usually say is I'll ask 3 questions. And she said, I'll ask, what was your biggest challenge this week? What was what were your victories on and off the scale? Or, what were the biggest non-scale victories that you've had this week? And then what are you learning? And at the time we didn't have our life book yet. So, but now I add on, what are you learning? What are you learning in your life book? Where are you at in there? What was your biggest takeaway that you had? And if they say, oh, I'm not reading in there, then I'll say, what is your biggest barrier with that? What do you feel like is getting in the way? When could you spend 5 minutes? Or I'll say, do you think you have 5 minutes a day that you could spend in the life book? And they'll, almost always say, well, yeah. And I'll say, well, when would be a good time for that? And then I'll say, okay, how are you going to remember? How are you going to remind yourself? What's going to be a cue to get you in there? And then, if they have been reading, I'll say, oh my gosh, I love that you're reading in Element 19 about sleep. What has been your biggest takeaway? What are you implementing? What's different in your world because of getting better sleep? So just, digging in there with them. And I love, I've really taken the time. Well, first of all, I've pretty much gone through the whole life book myself. So if you haven't been doing that, do that. But then I'll have like the life book out and with me when I'm doing my calls, and I'll open it, and if they're not in there, I'll recommend where I think would be a great place for them to read. So really plugging them in as much as possible. And then another question that I love to ask is, what is one thing that you can focus on this week? What is one thing? Because we always say, one of the slogans with Optavia is, one healthy habit at a time. And so I love kind of setting one thing, and then I always write that down so that when I talk to them the next week, I can say, how did this go this last week? How was that one thing? How did that go? And I think they love that because it makes them feel like we're listening and we care about it. And then some other questions that I love to ask, and it's really funny that we're talking about this tonight because I just got off of a client call, and she was very, trying to keep it very superficial. And I was like, oh, how's it going? She was like, oh, it's going, those kind of calls. And I was like, okay. She's like, well, I haven't lost anything since Thanksgiving. And, I don't know if I'm going to keep doing this. And so I just kept asking questions. And it was just funny because I was like, oh my gosh, God has such a sense of humor, because this is what I'm talking about tonight. But, and I think I got down to it, and she just didn't have a why. She had lost, she got to a place where she felt good, and she had, gotten to some of her whys, and she just hadn't dug deeper to figure out, okay, what is my why from here? Why is this important to me? So we talked through that and sent her back to Element 1. And now she's like, okay, I'm going to do this. So, I think that's the biggest thing, is not, because I know sometimes it's easy when they keep it superficial to just be like, oh, well, keep going. That's great. We'll talk next week, instead of let's dig in a little deeper, because there's always something down there. There's always something there. And something else that I have loved with the life book too is, and getting back to the why, is at the end of Element 1, they talk about writing down all of your whys. And what I did is I wrote it down on a note card, and I keep that as a bookmark in my life book. So every morning when I'm reading my life book, I read over all of my whys, and I've gone through and changed those whys a few times. So I love telling them that tip too, so that they're refreshing themselves every day and being intentional. And then, if they're when I ask, what's your biggest challenge? And they give me an answer, then I'll say, what do you think is going to help you with that? Instead of me, telling them. And normally they come up with the answer themselves. And if they don't, and, they need some help, then I'll say, would you be open to a tip or a suggestion that's helped me in that area? And another thing I love asking is, have you thought about asking that question in the Eat, Live, and Be Optavia group? Because the awesome thing is there's so many coaches and there's so many clients in there, and you're going to get such a great response from not just me, but from so many others. And that gets them integrated in there. And then of course I love asking, who's noticing, and who has your life been positively impacted by our program? And if so, which they're always going to say yes. then who do you think could benefit from this?
Yeah.
And that's a great segue into talking about coaching and referrals. And then a couple more things. If they're keeping it superficial and they're giving you a really short answer, and I actually did this with that call I was just talking about, I'll just say, tell me more about that, and just stop and wait. And then I asked her this too. I said, what do you want? How do you feel right now? How do you want to feel? And if they say, oh man, I just had a really hard week this week, I'll always ask them, well, what's something that you're proud of? And then I'll say, and what did you learn from that? What did you learn from that hard thing? And what do you think you would do different next time if you were presented with that again? So anyway, those are some of my favorite questions to ask. I hope that's helpful. I hope I didn't go through it too fast. So I hope that's what you wanted, Larry.
No, that's perfect. I think everybody wants you on for the rest of the night. So I think, the chat, everybody loved that. So appreciate it. I think, again, what you were talking about, a lot of it is they're going to get uncomfortable, right? When we ask those questions, they're going to get a little uncomfortable because it's a hard area for them to be in from that standpoint. So I guess the key thing there is just making sure you're comfortable with the uncomfortable, right? Because that will really lead to breakthroughs for your client. That'll really, again, they'll go places and they may cry. And if they cry, again, I know sometimes that's tough when clients cry like, oh no, they're crying, I got to get off the phone, this is done, But I think, again, it's really important that silence, okay, that sometimes let them think about it, let them come to there. So Lauren, as always, awesome job. Appreciate you so much. All right, so now we were talking about clients, and so let's talk about coaches and coaching coaches. And so for that, we have my friend Meg Johnson. Meg, where are you?
Hey everybody. Lauren, that was so awesome, and I am fired up for the rest of the week's client calls. So just energized. So thank you for those incredible tips. So many of those tips, honestly, that Lauren just gave for coaching clients can be translated so well into coaching coaches. It is just uncanny how similar coaching clients and coaching coaches really is when you look at it. But tonight we're going to be talking about going deeper with our relationships and how to really dig into the relationships that we have with our coaches. So I'm going to tell you my number one tip is to do all of your coaching calls with your coaches on Zoom. It makes such a difference because when you are on Zoom, first of all, you can tell if somebody's having a good day or if they're having a bad day. It's going to set the tone for the rest of the meeting, or even tell you if you need to be having a meeting. You're going to be able to see if they're distracted, and it's a whole lot more likely that you're going to make progress and lead to a breakthrough if you're sitting there eyeball to eyeball, both for you and for them. It's also going to show you how engaged they are and what kind of energy they're probably bringing to their business or their clients or their coaches. Makes such a difference. So comment below if you've ever tried doing a Zoom coach business mentorship call and what if that's something that you're going to do in the future. The other tip I'm going to share is, I think a lot of us, especially when we get started as business coaches, we haven't done this before. So there can be so much fear of like, well, what do I say? What's the perfect question to say? What do I do when they ask me a question? What if I don't have the perfect response? The single greatest gift you can give to that coach is to just show up and create a safe space for them to process, for them to dream, and to awaken them to what's possible. Showing up is most of the battle. So just show up and don't worry about being perfect, because got news for you. I don't do it perfectly. I'm sure Larry and Dee would say they don't do it perfectly. We're all just trying to show up and give ourselves in service to coaches. And there is one tip that I learned this year that helped me significantly with that, because let's be real, we all have some baggage. Am I alone in this? Am I the only one with some baggage that I'm carrying around? So one of my mentors recommended that before I do a coaching call or have maybe an uncomfortable conversation, to imagine myself with 2 suitcases in my hands. And before I walk into the threshold of the room that I'm sitting in, to physically, like to imagine myself putting my baggage, put down those suitcases. And then I imagine myself walking back into my room, sitting down, take a deep breath. And it makes such a difference because we all worry, right? Are we going to say the right thing? Are we going to give them that breakthrough? And I'm telling you, if you can just show up and listen, it makes such a difference. The other thing that will help you is if you can be prepared. So a couple of things I like to be prepared with. I like to know, number one, what is the goal of that coach? What are they working towards? I have a war board that tells me everybody's goals, and we're revisiting them now. This is the perfect time to revisit and talk about 2021 goals. I also love to know where are they projected to be as of the end of the month right now. And this is going to be a moving target, right? But before I get on that Zoom call, I really try to do what I can to know exactly where they are in their business, because it's going to tell me, are we going to work on acquiring new clients? Should we work on helping maybe a new coach on their team get to senior coach? It helps me come up with a game plan for how that mentoring call is going to go. So makes a big difference. And I'll just say, it is so much easier to be intuitive and to trust your intuition when you put your baggage at the door and when you're on Zoom, and to just show up in love. And there are 3 goals that I would encourage you to have as you're having these calls. The first goal is to just build connection. If you can work on your relationship with your coach and be that safe person or be a safe place, it is going to make such a difference. The other thing is we want to always be awakening. I feel like pretty much all of us are just scraping the surface of what's possible within Optavia. And the longer I stay around, the more and more I am convinced of this. And so awakening coaches, because we all have this baggage and wondering, can we do it? Can we do it? So awakening and breathing life and possibility into people is so critical. And then the third goal is to get them into action. And I love asking this question. I ask them, what 2 things can you do this week that are completely and totally inside of your control that'll move you towards your goals? And a lot of times they don't know. Like they might say, well, I'm going to have 2 health assessments. Well, 2 health assessments isn't totally and completely in your control, right? So we work through what 2 things. Maybe it's doing 2 posts or calling 5 people and asking for a health assessment, right? But being really clear on what's totally and completely in their control and having them leave that call with taking a little bit more action than they were currently taking. Lauren's question for the client, what do you want? That's a great question for coaches. What do you want? What's important about getting to global director or executive director or director? Who else is going to benefit from that? Really letting them dig in to knowing what that could look like. And then, if you ever get into a situation where maybe you see something in somebody that might be blocking them, it might be personal development, it might be a sticky, hard conversation. I love asking of a coach, hey, if I could share something that I think would lead you to tremendous breakthrough, but might be really hard to hear, is that something that you'd want to know? And 10 times out of 10, they say yes. But they're giving me permission to coach them. They're giving me permission to kind of go deep and to find out more about what's going on. And then, if let's say things are hard in their world, the question Lauren asked of, tell me more about that. Just tell me more. Be that safe place and be there in service to listen, connect, and just show up for them in love. Makes such a big difference. So those are just a few tips that I wanted to share on how to deepen your connection and going deeper with your coaches. Hope that was helpful.
Meg, that was awesome. Thank you so much. And, it really, again, I always lean back to my Dan Bell training, but when we look at it, what's in it for them, right? When we come to these meetings, it is like Meg said, it's about asking connecting, what can I do for you today? How can I help you? How can I move you forward from that perspective? And it really, it takes those probing questions, whether it's coach or client, to kind of dig in a little bit to get them to open up, or else you'll stay just on the surface level. And surface level is not going to get growth. Okay, growth is going to grow for client and coach either way. So great feedback as far as in the chat tonight too. You know, again, Meg, thank you so much. Lauren, thank you again for your time, and you guys just thanks for blowing it out of the park. So but that was a great topic. I hope you enjoyed that. I can't wait to get back to church again on Sunday, online, of course. But you know, it's that kind of stuff that, again, you know, no matter where we are in life, I mean, that's why I enjoy church, because it talks about people. It's all about people. And so I can always get something that I can share from that perspective. And it was, you know, again, as we're coaching new clients right now and new coaches, how do we start them off well and make them successful? And no matter where you are, right, this is a great opportunity as we start with new resolutions and new goals for the new year. So hope you enjoyed it tonight. Remember, we have our friend Dr. A right after this, and please, Wednesday night, you know, again, Dee's getting all geared up for that. You can imagine I wouldn't say stress level, but levels of preparation that she has to put in for that are pretty significant. But I'm excited for her. I hope you are too. So anyway, appreciate you guys. Love you. Have a great week, and talk to you soon. Bye.